Alright. Well, let's get this fired up. Our card images are finally loading. That's good. Oh, perfect. Bish bosh. Okay, so we start off the league 0-2. We played a third match against the rug or the four color Thopter Foundry deck, and that was a really fun match. We actually went 2-0. Here, let's look. We can actually see that right here. If it resizes, yeah. So we had two really tight losses, match one and match two. I think it was to like burn, and then it was a mono green devotion deck, I believe. Then I decided to take a break, just get some fresh air. I came back. I did one off camera. And then I went 2-0 there. That felt really good. And so we're just gonna try to finish off this league. Luris burn? It had to be. I can double check. I think it was burn and then like mono green devotion with a splash of red. But I mean still green devotion. So not mono green, I guess like green devotion splash red. Thought it was Ponza at first. It was like a tooth and nail deck with devotion as its like mana engine. I love this end. It's probably good enough. I certainly wouldn't mulligan this hand. Only concern is that we are on the draw, and they're playing Tron. So definitely plenty of stuff to be concerned about here. If we just draw it, I like it. So now fetch lands, counter spells, everything's pretty good here. We're definitely just slamming this Delver though. Yeah, we might just be firing this Boom Bust off next turn. And just hitting ourselves pretty hard. Sure, so they still have been scrying. Find themselves a tower. Okay. Let's see if Delver flips. No. Yeah, we've been playing with Boom Bust for a while, and it's honestly just felt pretty good all around. So we are running Blood Moon, so I would like to keep this Misty Rainforest. I think what we're doing is we're bashing for one, and we're just going to Boom Bust sort of inefficiently here. Which is fine. I mean, we're on the draw. If we were on the play, we would be able to blow up the land at no real cost to ourselves, but it's fine to kind of like emergency mode it as well. Yeah, so we're actually going to blow up our Spire Bluff Canal here, I think. And then I think we decided that hitting the mine is the best. It's really an arbitrary choice at that point. We just can't let them untap with it. We don't have a counter spell or anything. So we know this is probably their only tower they have in hand, but it's possible they have another. Have Stirrings here, which is really good. They kind of have it all. They're looking for mine. So we've already seen their tower. Sphere. Okay, this is good. We're just kind of hoping that they don't have the mine in their hand. Which they probably don't. But we don't actually know. Okay. What are they doing in there instead? Okay. Let's go to our turn. Spell Snare is pretty bad, but at least he can counter a Sylvan Scrying. It's definitely getting started out though. Unless I forget. Okay, let's bash him for 3. And then if they don't play anything, we could just cantrip, find our counter spell. Sure, so they play their sphere. That's fine. Another stirrings. I think we're actually going to opt for a spell pierce here. So let's get an island. Let's opt. We just gotta make this scribe worth as much as possible. Dude, better... Look at that line right there. Better lucky than good. Perfect. So they're off of Tron, and we've got a Delver, which is almost best case. We can opt looking for another land, but I'd rather hold up Spell Stutter mana for another Stirrings or something. Or Mana Rock. Okay, well, now we'll take a peek at their hand. We'll see what's going on. Karn, Worm Coil. That's a hand. That they're playing Karn Tribal, I guess. Okay, let's keep these guys over here. Okay, let's look for a land as well. Bolt. Changes the clock by a little bit, but I think we really do need this land. Perfect. Okay, these Mana Leaks are going to be instrumental to our victory. So they don't have a fourth land? If they don't play a land and they try to play a one-drop, of course they're countering it with the Spell Stutter. If they pass, we're flashing in the Spell Stutter, otherwise we're just leaking their Karn. So they drew O-Stone. O-Stone is interesting. I think we're going to counter this because I don't want to just randomly lose to it. Let's get a second island here. That could have been wrong. We could have saved that Polluted Delta for a Boom Bust off the top of our deck. That's fine. So we'll keep these in. Said Spell Snare's coming out. Narset's pretty medium. I don't want to tap out on turn 3. Disdainful Stroke is good. Ceremonious Rejection is good. And then Sinkhole's fine for like sideboarded Thought-Knot Seers and stuff. Dude, I don't know. Tron it's kind of a beautiful deck, you know? Like, it's very annoying and frustrating to play against at times, but I don't know. There's definitely more frustrating decks. Okay, so why do we have 59 cards? Of all of our sideboard options, Abrade is okay, because it can at least, like, kill a Worm Coil. But the other mode is really bad. On the play, it's a lot better, because we can kill an Expedition map. I think it's better than a lot of these cards, though. Yeah, like Flame Slash is probably... Yeah, I don't know. Kind of rough. I mean, Burst Lightning is just going to be thrown at their face. This configuration is definitely not built to beat Tron. And that's fine. We have the main deck Blood Moon, which is something, I guess. This is a mulligan. Like, we have a creature. We have burn spells. This is great against burn, just not in this matchup. This hand has no lands. Okay, then this is the issue with Sprite Dragon. It's like we're not a good linear deck, and it just doesn't even kill people quickly. But I don't want to mulligan to 4. So we'll keep, and we'll just hope our linear plan is decent enough. I think we've got to go bottom bolt, bottom island. I don't know. We're probably losing this one. We'll go turn 1 nothing, turn 2 Sprite Dragon, turn 3 Sprite Dragon, Serum Visions. Alright, it might be good enough. Yeah, this might actually be good enough. Huh. I don't know why our opponent kept this. With 6, this is interesting. Normally, if the Tron player leads on Forest, it's usually a very good sign for us. And their deck mulligans really well. Ours mulligans decently, but nothing compared to theirs. Alright, pass it back to them. There's almost an argument to hold up Spell Stutter, but next turn, instead of playing a Sprite Dragon, it's honestly not an atrocious argument. Yeah, so they've got 2-drop. Or they don't have a 2-drop more specifically. I think we're just jamming a Sprite Dragon here. Next turn we might just go Serum Visions, Sprite Dragon. It depends on what they have too. So we have not seen them play anything remotely intimidating. We get to hit them to 19. It's kind of nice. But yeah, this card has been super underwhelming. Like, I don't think it has any legs without Mishra's Bauble. And Luras specifically. Because it's not a very convenient way of getting a lot of triggers. Even though our deck is filled with non-creature spells. They might just have Natron and they were just slow rolling it. Which would be annoying. But that doesn't make sense. They have to be missing one of the pieces, otherwise they would have just led on one. Like, this stirring is meant to find something, right? They just didn't have any, This means that they didn't have any, like, spheres or anything in their hand. Which makes sense, because they didn't play any last turn. So it's not like we really found out a whole lot, but I don't know. Okay, so that means that chances are they don't have 3rd Tron land, right? Also, they'd play Tower last if they had 3rd Tron land. So I think what we're supposed to do is we go Dragon, Serum Visions. But if they go 4th land, they could also have Karn. So maybe we just go Dragon, hold up Ceremonious. Which I think is fine. Like, again, it's not terribly exciting. But we're not killing them a whole lot slower this way either. And I'd rather not randomly lose to a Karn. Also, we get our spellcast in on their turn, which feels nice. Obviously not for the... We don't get the extra 2 damage. And they did have it. Right, but they didn't have 3rd. They revealed... So they led turn 1 Forest into Ancient Stirrings. Okay, this is interesting. We do get to Ceremonious this, which is nice. I just didn't think they had 8 mana. I didn't think they had the 3rd Tron land. Because they led on basic Forest turn 1, right? And they found a Karn off of it, which we haven't seen played yet. Get rid of that. let's always yield. Draw. That's a good top deck. Do we ever really want to hit our 4th land? Well, we're probably going to boom bust this turn, right? Hit their tower. No, we don't even hit tower. We'd hit mine here, right? That was the last one they played. So we go... We probably do want this land, so we could be at 3. So we're going to have to suicide it away. So let's go top, bottom. And then let's do this now. We have Blood Moon in our deck, so let's get rid of the canal and the mine. This way, the reason you get rid of the mine and not the tower is if they spend their turn cantripping, then the last land they play only gets them 2 mana instead of 3, right? If they're able to find the 3rd drawn land. Also, this is the last land they played, so it's the least likely that they have multiples of it, right? Because they didn't have Natron, otherwise they would have let on Tron land, right? So they must have just top decked the mine. Also worth noting, this is the only time Sprite Dragons actually felt pretty good. Also, they're just dead next turn, so it didn't really matter where we see our ambitions. We just needed something. I mean, I've played 3 matches with this guy. It feels awful. Again, see, this is why we don't kill the tower, because now if they spend this mana, they can crack it. Oh, they can't put a counter and blow this up, so we're fine. We can breathe. That actually feels decent that it costs 2 mana. First time that's felt decent. No, we played against a lot of fair decks where I'd much rather have Young Pyromancer, and this just leaves a really bad taste in your mouth. Because it's not terribly fast. Not terribly efficient. Okay. So we're just gonna bolt them. And that should be game. GG Tron. Perfect. Okay, so now we're 2-2, which is surprising after our really rough start. Really fucking rough. Okay, but I'm feeling much better. And, like, honestly, there might be a place for Sprite Dragon. It's just not that fast either. Because even against Tron, Young Pyromancer raises just as quickly, right? Yeah, no, like, Boom Bust definitely carried that game. Sprite Dragon, he was there as the emotional support, right? But at least he didn't feel actively terrible, right? Not feeling actively terrible is definitely a plus, right? And we won the die roll. That's a good start. Alright. The question, I guess, is will he not feel actively terrible in this hand? Which we're definitely keeping. I mean, we'll see. We have, like, a large number of threats. It's a good hand, but I think... I think we're overvaluing these 2 cards. It's like a 5-card hand. Yeah, I think we're just Steve and Stilver here. Like 100%. Would think there's a world where we do a whole lot else. And then we'll determine our next turn based off of what they play. Yeah, that's fair. Also, it's humans, and they don't play anything, so we actually really want to play a Sprite Dragon. This is actually one of the only cases where we want to tap out and play a Sprite Dragon. Because they didn't play Vial, which we could bolt the Hierarch. But even then, it's like, we'd rather just play the Sprite Dragon, right? definitely a situation where I'm happy to have it. I will not reveal this, but I will draw it. Okay. Well, we don't go to combat first. This guy does have haste. Now we'll go to combat. Hit them for 2. Now next turn we get to untap Sprite Dragon, Lightning Bolt their creature. That's kind of gas. We have a 3/2 and then 2/2/2s. Dahlia, sure. Makes things slightly more complicated. We could just honestly let her live for a turn. Just jam the Sprite Dragon. Their hand might have multiple Thalias too. I'm actually kind of fine with that. Not really with the drawing the Spire Bluff, but I think we definitely let her live and just jam the Sprite Dragon. Issue is we can't get spellcasts, but that's fine. We'll play this. Play fetch for Delver. Yeah, I mean, I'd rather just have the fetch later so that we can use it with Boom Bust. Or we could just get an island too. Like, this is very life point conscious. I can see the argument for holding the fetch. I thought about it, and it's possible it was correct. I don't know. That one's a bit harder. Like, there's a lot of times where the correct line isn't, like, super apparent, because it's like, okay, there's a bit of tension, right? Like, we could either keep the fetch for the Delver, we keep the fetch for the Boom Bust, which I think is personally probably better, because they don't have Vial, they don't have Hierarch, right? And that way we could blow up a cavern or something. Okay, so they have a Mantis Rider, that's fine. Yeah, and we'd much rather have our Bolt for the Mantis Rider too, right? So they hit us for 5. This is fine. We go to 12, but then we get to snap at them really hard. Yeah. So, like, in retrospect, do you still think playing the fetch is better? Like, that's my question, because I'm not sure. I mean, I definitely don't disagree. I think Shuffling Way, some of these cards is nice, but, like, Sprite Dragon's pretty hot regardless, right? We get to draw Sprite Dragon, play a land. We can fetch Island, go to 11, Sprite Dragon, Bolt Mantis Rider, and then swing it for 7. Yeah, but then we wouldn't have 4 mana for this turn, if that ends up mattering, right? Because this Spire Bluff Canal would enter tapped. Yeah, there's also tension with the Spire Bluff Canal. More bolts for future humans. I feel like that's just such a tempo swing when we have a Spire Bluff Canal entering tapped on one of these critical turns. Grow, my dragons. Grow. I love how once I start talking shit about Sprite Dragon, he starts performing. I'd like to take a moment to appreciate that. We might just Spell Pierce our own spell next turn, depending on what it is. And by might, I mean that's probably what we're doing. I feel like instinctively I want to hold on to the fetch land for Boom Bust. Yeah, this is like first generation 5-color humans, right? They haven't played Reflecting Pool in forever. You got a Thalia's Lieutenant. What are you trying to do? Okay, so they're dead to any spell off the top, but they're not dead to a whole lot else, I guess. No, this hand was definitely fine. It was Bolt, Spell Pierce, Delver, 2 lands. Like, even if the Sprite Dragons don't do anything this game, they're still pretty fucking lethal, right? So we have not flipped this Delver yet. We played him turn 1. So I'm thinking we might flip him next turn. Now, obviously, that's not how Magic works. That's not how probability works. However, it would be pretty fucking gangster if he flipped off of a Lightning Bolt, right? Okay, so now we need to take out all of our counters. So let's... I think Narset's a little slow here. But look at this. We get to take all of these. Spell Pierce, Snare. Okay, now we have to pick our 3 favorites from these. Honestly, Snare isn't awful. Because they don't always have Cavern, right? Narset's pretty bad. What are we doing? I'm thinking we probably bring in Snare, or keep Snare in. And then, honestly, we could almost bring in Mystical Dispute against humans, because it counters Mantis Rider. That's kind of a power play. It also counters Reflector Mage. And honestly, I kind of like that idea. Yeah, I think this is probably good. We keep in these 3, and then we have Spell Stutters, which are mostly just going to be just creatures. I don't think we're going to be countering anything with them, but we'll see. We'll see. We might not be like a Vial or something. We're on the Blood Moon plan. Blood Moon actually puts a +1/+1 counter on Spite Dragon, which is kind of gangster. I mean, we'll keep it. We have Burst Lightning into Blood Moon. That might be good enough. They're not running Giganta either. They're running, like, Reflecting Pool. And stuff, like, not that you can't run Giganta with Reflecting Pool, obviously, but their deck definitely seems to be of the of an older variety. So we're definitely going to be Burst Lightning this Noble Hierarch. We're still Burst Lightning in this Hierarch. Oh, I'm not playing the Delver. This doesn't even kill Mantis Riders, so there's really not much of a question. We just need to slow them down a little bit. Then we can go Pluto Delta, Fetch Island, Delver. Or Steam Vents, tap Delver, and then fetch an island. Sure. That's a really good draw, so we can actually... So now we know for a fact we can actually get our Blood Moon down next turn. I think we probably make Mythic happy. We just drop our Delver in a fetch line. I think that's probably the best line here. Because we could get these Sprite Dragons on the table. It's slightly more mana efficient, but we do need an answer to a Mantis Rider if it comes. Because essentially all we need to do is answer 1 creature. 2 creatures, really, but we can raise the Thalia with our Delver, right? So, like, we answer this 1 threat, Slammer Blood Moon, and then we win the game. Easily, right? We just need 1 answer. We might also be able to raise 2 creatures. So they have their Mantis Rider. Okay, sure, we saw that coming. Okay, we untap. Eventually, right? So we go to 13, whatever, nobody cares. Sure. Okay. Go to our turn. Upkeep. What do we have? Why do we need another land? We have a rainforest, right? Okay, so Delver flips, but we're not going to be able to cast the Serum Visions this turn, and by the time we cast it next turn, we'll already have taken too much damage. So I think we just look for the bolt now. Definitely need an island. Draw. Land. Okay, I think we're actually going to Blood Moon. Oh, we need another land. You're right. You're right. Yeah, no, we can't moon. God damn it, Thalia. What do we do then? Probably just Sprite Dragon past the turn, right? That's unfortunate. Tragic. Tragic. Yeah, if they offer the trade with the Mantis Rider, we definitely take it. Well, Delver did flip, which is a good start, I guess. Yeah, no, we do need another land. You guys are right. Ba-ba-ba. Champion of the Parish? Good. Not for us, good for them. Okay, yeah, we're definitely going to the next game. I don't think we beat this. Yeah, on the draw against humans is just kind of rough. Yeah, like, we're not going to have an answer to this Mantis Rider. Like, do we double block it? Like, wait, what are our outs here? I don't think we have any outs. Okay, well, let's double block it. It just doesn't feel right. Okay, we'll take 7, go to 4, and then we'll look at our top deck. But I don't believe we have anything on our deck that gets us out of this. Also, worth noting, if Sprite Dragon was a young Pyromancer, we could actually maybe do something. But not under Thalia, but just like in a general sense. Because we're losing to these like small boards of like 4 creatures a lot. Okay, so we can opt. Sure. I mean, we're not just dead, but we're dead. Okay. So now we're on the play. Do we change anything? Probably not. I think we just run it back. See it. We have so many bolt effects. We've got, what, 10? Like, we should be in a pretty good spot. Especially on the play, with, like, some wasteland effects, too. We have 10 plus 2 abrades. Yeah, we're definitely designed to beat the creature decks, like Burn and Humans. Yeah, this should be fine. I would love to play first. Okay, we are fighting for our lives. Oh, without a red source, are we fighting for our lives? I think the answer is probably not. The hand's really solid, though. Like, double removal spell. we're not guaranteed to hit that land. That's the issue, right? How many red sources are we running? We have no cantrips. 8, 9. Or, well, really, it's 15, right? 15. This has to be a mulligan. I can't be that greedy. Sure, we mulligan to do a better hand. Or, like, the same hand with actual mana. I'll keep it. We'll just bottom the opt here. Okay, so we get to go Slammer Delver. I wonder if they're gonna mulligan. It would be really nice if they did. Is trading 1-for-1 with removal against their creatures? Yes, they did mulligan. Good, good, good. That's actually huge for us. We'd probably lose if they didn't mulligan. Even though our hand's, like, very reasonable. Now we actually stand a pretty good chance. Yeah, I mean, if they have the Vial, we have the Abrade. If they have the Hierarch, we have the Burst Lightning into Serum Visions. Perfect. So they have land here, which makes our Blood Moon look a lot worse, but that's why we only run one. I don't like to go all in on the Moonblind, because sometimes it's just absolutely awful against their draws. And we flipped over to another removal spell. Wow. Blow you up. I mean, they still have a shot. If they mulligan to, like, 1 or 2 lands, though, and one of them's a plains, and it locks them out of casting spells or something, then that's an issue. For them, at least. Not for us. We're chilling. Meddling Mage. So they're gonna name Bolt. We'll just Burst Lightning this. Probably. Sure. Huh. Spell Stutter's interesting. Could also hold up Spell Stutter for, like, a Champion of the Parish or something. But if they had one, they probably would have played a last turn. Serum to find a land is fine, and then we could hold up removal as well. And then we could have Spell Stutter up next turn. Okay, so let's take a look. What do we have? Okay, well, we hit a land. I don't think I want another land, but I will take another removal spell. And then now we just get to hit them for 3. I don't think there's a point in killing it now. I think we just wait. We'll even take 2, honestly. I'd rather have Spell Stutter pay off than save 2 damage, right? Even if it's pretty fringe, I think it's still much better. So now they go Mantis Rider. This is really good for us. Now we just get to kill both of them. Okay, yeah, let's just kill them both now. Right, yeah, no. I totally agree with you. I'm with you on that one. It's just more of like, okay, so we could hold up Spell Stutter, which means we probably shouldn't Serum first. But if we Serum first, and we also have the 1-minute interaction, then we could just keep that up, even if we don't hit a land, right? Okay, so now we clear their board. We're at 1 card to their... or 2 cards to their 4 cards, right? But we've got them under pressure. We've got another removal spell in our hand, and something to counter like a small creature or a vial, which is all right, and I will take that. So they name Human. Fine. Oh my god. Oh, this makes me so happy. I love it. See ya, opponent. It's mental misstep on a stick. Yeah, it's spell stutter spread.
Oh, yeah, that is very strong.
Phantasmal image. Okay, so we can bop the phantasmal image with our burst lightning. We're not slow rolling this island because it enables us to. We could potentially kick burst lightning next turn, right? So we hit them 4 here. They go 7. And then we could hit them 4 next turn, kick burst lightning, kill them. I like it. Sounds really good to me. So they're dead to land? Assuming they don't have play a flyer like Freebooter or something. Irritating like that. And even then they're not in a great spot. Yes, they play champion. It's fine. Yeah, if they image our insect, for sure. They probably will, because it's still a human, right? No, they go for Bugler. Interesting. We'll let champion go to a 2-2. We'll just kill it in response if it becomes a 3-3. Although we're probably just going for the kill. Yeah, I would have thought they would have gone for our guy as well. I don't know. Like, he's a human insect, right? 3-2. Sure, so now they have the file. They're still dead to land. They're dead to land. They're dead to bolt. Another burst lightning, which I don't think we're running. We're only running 2. So yeah, we'll take 2. Are you dead to my land off the top of my deck? They are. Yeah. Okay, so I started off this league 0-2, right? I I played 2 matches, and they were both. We can actually watch the replay on these. I think it was Burn and then Green Devotion. But like, we'll do this for science, right? So they go Bobble Pass, right? I kept the hand with 3 Sprite Dragons just to try to figure out. This is game 2, by the way. Wait. No, this is Grixis Delver. Yeah, I think we're against Grixis Delver. Or no, this wasn't Grixis Delver. This is Grixis Control. It's all coming back to me. I played this game a while ago. But yeah, so our Sprite Dragons kept trading 1-for-1 with their things. Like, Young Pyromancer wouldn't have done much better against the Spell Snare, right? And then second Sprite Dragon, we have a Spell Pierce, right? Relic's doing work against their Snapcasters, which is alright. Like, look, he's not even a threat. We just don't have anything. I guess this is not really Sprite Dragon's fault that we drew 6 lands. Yeah, like this one went by kind of quickly. Yeah, so we played our Blood Moon. They have similar mana base to ours. But, I mean, it's better than playing nothing. And I think we just hard lose the Snapcaster Mage. want to trade with the spell stutter, and then they have the fatal push for it. We blow up our relic. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just trying to like, because in the moment I was upset for Sprite Dragon, right? Like we drew 3 threats, and they were all awful. Like this is supposed to be some sort of game-ending. Ooh, Magic Online. It's supposed to be some like legitimately decent. I don't know how to get back to that window. Alright, well, we'll just go back to our profile, I guess. Magic Online. Please let me click the things. I hate it. No. Oh my god. No. There we go. Okay, let's scroll all the way down. So we had... This is match 1, right? So then game 1, what happened with our Sprite Dragons? So I'm curious now, right? Like, do I need to run through another league with this? Was I just kind of like... You know, I really have to think. Because I want the card to be good, obviously, right? Like, it's, I love Spell Stutter Sprite. A Burning Passion, right? But... Okay, yeah, so we keep a very reasonable hand, right? We have Boombuss, we've got double counter spell, and I'm against a fair deck with Luris, right? And I think I was on the play as well. Okay, so they have 2 Ancestral Visions, count them, 2 Ancestral Visions. We get a Boombuss off on their Creeping Tar Pit, right, with their Sprite Dragon. And at this point, he's alright, but imagine if this was a Young Pyromancer. We would have already had 2 tokens in play, right? And what happens is our Sprite Dragon connects for a little bit more damage, I believe. But he just doesn't have any staying power. Cute interaction with the Spell Stutter Sprite, as always, right? But now we don't have a Spell Stutter for the Ancestral Visions, right? And we're kind of all in on him at this point, and he just dies, right? Like, with all of those counters, those 2 counters, we could have had a entire board of elementals, right? And then we just can't close the game out. Like, it's not even when you're behind. When we're ahead, the cards aren't that good, right? We were firmly ahead that game. We were on the play, right? Huge tempo lead. We get to Boombust them off of their tap land, right? They played a tap land, and then it got killed, right? Which cut them off of black. They're playing Luris of the Dream Den, and they don't even have double black, right? We were so far ahead this game, and then we just... He's such an underwhelming threat, right? And then our Spell Stutter just cannot close games either. Which is just characteristic of Spell Stutter, right? It's not a threat, right? Like, we, this is why... Spell Stutter's not a threat in the same sense that Snapcaster's not a threat. I think Spell Stutter's done, what, like 4 or 5 damage this game? Which is crazy good. 2 mana, counter target CMC 1, in this case a CMC 2 spell, right? Plus we also were able to deal like 4 or 5 damage. That's unbelievably good for 2 mana, right? Very, very solid card. But... yeah, so I really like having 8 threats. I feel like this is probably the best bare minimum number. A lot of people kind of give you funny looks when you don't have like 12, 14 creatures, but you have to remember that a lot of these other cards are just not threats that close the game at nearly the same rate, right? So I feel like Delver, Young Pyromancer, and then like support cards like Snapcaster Mage are really, really good to have like in conjunction with each other, right? Right, like even though we got 2 spellcasts off on the Sprite Dragon, right? But it was 2 spellcasts. We had to untap with him twice. Our opponent was completely behind. We've been drawing only gas, right? We've hit 4 lands. And then this game is... I think we win this one, right? We won our first game against them. And we didn't win it because of Sprite Dragon. Sprite Dragon was very mediocre. We won it because Spell Stutter is an amazing magic card, right? Spell Stutter pulled all of the weight this match. Spell Stutter even saved the Sprite Dragon so it could do 3 more damage, right? If this was a Young Pyromancer, it would have been even better, right? Just something to think about. So yeah, let's look at another one of these games. Yeah, so I think the third game was a bit tragic. But yeah, like when... I don't know, Sprite Dragon's just bad. Like, even if I'm able to keep him alive, he still doesn't pass the bolt test. Like, imagine if that Drown in the Lock was a bolt the second time. That would have been so brutal for us. The tempo swing was just unbelievable. After us having blown up their thing. It's honestly not bad. Here, I'll kind of give you a bit of an example. Maybe. Let's take a look at this game. But notice how we play Spell Stutter with only Spell Stutter on the table, right? We did that a lot last game. And we're going to do it a lot this game too, I think. Like, there's definitely cases where we aren't just casting Spell Stutter naked, but that's like a weird combination, right? We have our fairy-like Sprite Dragon in play. He's on the table in the first place, right? Which means we're already probably winning, because they don't have an answer for it. And it's a bad card, right? But we have our Sprite Dragon in play, and we have the Spell Stutter in a hand. We're able to untap, so we have all the mana for all of it. And we also want to be countering a CMC2 spell, right? Like, that's a lot of conditions. Curving just Delver into Spell Stutter, counter your 1-drop, is a lot better than curving Delver into Mana Leak, counter your Lightning Bolt, right? Because at least with Spell Stutter, you actually end the deal with another body in play, right? Because when you just cast a Mana Leak, it's tempo negative, right? And we're trying to play this Protect the Queen strategy, right? And this Protect the Queen strategy, we're also trying to be a tempo deck, right? And we're casting these spells like Mana Leak against 1 mana removal because we need to keep our creature alive because we don't have the top end to go over the top of these Lures of the Dream Den decks, right? And everything else Modern has, right? We don't have the... I guess the tools as far as low CMC counter magic to actually trade at mana parity when we're trying to keep our threats alive, right? Which is why like a fair mental setup would actually be really, really solid, right? Just a 1 blue counter target spell with CMC1. That would be so amazing for our deck because that way we can actually protect our creatures and disrupt our opponent without throwing ourselves behind in mana, right? Spell Stutter actually kind of fixes that problem for our deck in a way, because we pay the 2 mana, but we get a body and a 1/1, right? So it's not like we're just strictly paying down a mana. It obviously still doesn't feel stellar. Like sometimes we'd be forced to do it on our end step, and then we're tapped out of mana that we could be holding up on our opponent's turn. But for the most part, yeah, so here I'm just forced to hold up Mana Leak for their their Lurrus, right? But yeah, let's take a look at the. Here's a match where the spell stutter actually really pulled some weight, right? 3 or a 2-0-2-0 and then a 2-1. Like that's a pretty good sequence. But yes, I think there's definitely a world where we can justify just running 4 spell stutters. I've done it before, like obviously at like smaller F&M events and stuff, but oops. Okay, so we lead off on Delver, so we don't really know what they're playing, and then we see Grinding Station, right? So at this point, we know they're on the Grinding Station. Embry Underworld Breach deck, right? I think I take a moment here and then Google their deck. So, yeah, you see my clock shoots down by 30 seconds. So we tried to take a peek in their hand. They wouldn't let it happen. That's fine. If they're spending their counter magic on countering peek, that works for me, right? I know there's a good example of spell stutter spread in here. Let me just try to find it. Yeah, and then we can start boom busting next turn. But they just won't even let it happen. We have 5 points of burn in our hand, a 3 menace or 3 power creature in play. Like we just had this game completely locked up. I was gonna wait until I untapped probably, or like fire 1 and end step, just so I always have mana leak mana up. Super solid. But yeah, so we don't really see spell stutter in that game, but the second game we see spell stutter. Mostly because we didn't draw it, right? It wasn't because spell stutter underperformed, and I'm not trying to like. This obviously isn't formatted like a video essay, but I'm trying to like convey some of my thoughts on the card, right? So here's Sprite Dragon against the linear deck underperforming because they had 1 piece of interaction, right? The other thing is he doesn't have the same kind of punch as Young Pyromancer where we can slow roll him and then drop a ton of spells in the same turn. Because he just doesn't have that lingering impact. And like if they have removal on a later turn, you have a Young Pyromancer, you still get some tokens out of it, right? Because you saved your mana and your spells and you could just play them all, right? I definitely had a missequence here. I should have blown up like slightly sooner. Like in response to the Underworld Breach, more specifically. Because I don't think there's anything they could have had that would have been that. Unless second Emery was in hand, maybe that would have been a bad idea. Yeah, so there's Spell Stutter, countering Veil of Summer, or at least trying to. Which is pretty solid. And then our opponent goes for the win here. At some point, they're going to yeah, so they Veil of Summer, then they have Grinding Station. We let that resolve because they have Emery and they could just reanimate it, and then we Spell Stutter their Underworld Breach. And then keep in mind, this is Spell Stutter, just stacking on top of Spell Stutter, right? Which happens. I mean, it's definitely a run 4 of these, and then consider running at least 1 Vendilion Click, but that's not really that big of a deck building cost. Right, so like if I was going to... Essentially, long story short, if I was going to be playing this deck again, which I will be, let's be serious, would I be running Spell Stutter Sprite? I've definitely made an argument of putting it in the sideboard for all the matchups where countering one drops is really critical. Kind of filling this dispel niche. And I think there's definitely a place for it there. But it could also be main deck as well. So what we've got 8, 11. So we got 14 creatures right now, right? But we could cut our Obstructionist, move the one of Blood Moon to the sideboard. And then we could trim on one spell, probably trim the remans for the third Pierce, and then run 4 spell stutters. Like, I think this is a very reasonable shell for it as well. Like, I think there's definitely justification for spell stutter in this deck. For 4 of them, to be specifically, and without Faeries support. I think it's definitely there. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure if anybody's listening, but thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys around.